Hello, everyone. Congratulations again on making it to Phase 2. We are here today for your Phase 2 Grow with Google orientation. I am Kathleen. I'm here with Kelsey and Brenda and Nick, and really excited to be walking you through some of what you can expect from Phase 2 over the next 6 months. Before we jump in, we have a big presentation for you, but we also want to encourage you, if you're available, at 4 o'clock, we're going to be doing a happy hour in Slack. So some of you have already discovered the happy hour channel in Slack. If you do want to participate, I encourage you to take a few seconds now, go join that channel. It's available for everyone to join. And at 4 o'clock on the dot, Donut is going to be pairing people into groups of about eight students. And this is going to be a really good opportunity just for you to get to know each other. We have some prompts, some activities to get conversation moving, which you don't have to use if you want to just carry things on your own. So if you do want to participate from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, go over to the happy hour channel and join that now, and you'll be automatically paired at 4 o'clock. All right, and without any further delay, we're going to jump into our agenda. All right, so all right, we're going to jump to the beginning of our orientation presentation. And for those of you who can't stick around for the full hour, this will be available on the same link that it's on right now. So you can always come back and watch this later. We're also going to make sure that all of this is on the Google site so you can reference it at any time. So as a brief overview of our agenda, we're going to kick things off with Kelly Howard, and she's going to be going over the nano degree in a little bit more depth. Some of you are already have already gone into your classroom and have kind of poked around, and she's just going to be going over what you can expect, how to be successful over the next 6 months. We're going to be reviewing academic honesty, which is something that we take extremely seriously here at Udacity. We're going to be going over mentors and project reviews, since those are 2 new resources that are available to you with the nano degree. We're going to be going over some resources that we're providing to you all just to make this as positive of an experience as possible. We're going to be talking about how Slack will look a little bit different from Phase 1. We're going to be talking about some of our programming. Ryan Waite will be giving you all a personal message. Many of you recognize him from the front end track, and he'll be a familiar face to the people who are continuing to be in the front end track and are in mobile web moving forward. We'll have some time for Q&A, and then we'll head on over to the happy hour for those of you who could make it. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Kelly, who's going to go into a nano degree overview.
Hi all, my name is Kelly. I'm one of the product leads here at Udacity, and I oversee all of the web development nano degree programs. And so I'm just going to go a little bit at a very high level on what our nano degree programs look like and what you might be able to expect in the classroom. So let's see if you can go to the next slide. Great. One of the biggest questions that our team gets asked is like, how do you actually succeed in these programs? It can be really challenging to get through an entire program successfully and with confidence. And so these are a few of the things that we've compiled based on our successful students on what has worked for them to complete the program. The very first one is studying at least every day, about an hour. The more repetition you have with the material, the better it's going to stick, and the less daunting it'll be if you only see it once a week. It might you might lose something. So once a day is the best. Every little bit counts. So if you haven't already, download our mobile app. That'll allow you to access the content, go through videos and text while you're out and about. And then, of course, use the quizzes to practice. Even if you've already solved the quiz, you've gotten it right, reset it and try again. Just use it for a practice time so that you can make sure that you've really solidified those skills. Try hard and try often kind of goes with the first 2 points. And then have an accountability partner. It's really useful for folks to have someone that is either within this, the Slack community or maybe even outside of the program to keep you on track to make sure that you're sticking to a schedule that you've set for yourself. And a fun fact from our data team is that our most successful students visit the classroom over 3 times per week. So if you are hitting the classroom at least 3 times a week, you are more likely to succeed in the program. Next slide. Great. So our nano degree programs, can you make the slide bigger? Thank you. So our nano degrees are structured. We have a big syllabus page that you'll see in the classroom when you enroll, and it's broken up into different parts. And each of these parts will have some collection of lessons, and then typically a lab or a project or two to complete to solidify your skills. So if you go to the next slide. This one shows within part 2, this example is from our front-end web program. Within part 2, web programming with JavaScript, you can see a handful of lessons within that part. And the next slide shows you an example of once you're within the lesson, you'll see a navigation on the left with all the concepts, and you'll have multiple quizzes throughout the lessons. And the next slide. And you'll have a bunch of projects to complete. And typically the projects you'll find at the end of a final lesson within a part. And the project will test your comprehension and all the skills that have been presented for each of the lessons. So on the next slide, thank you. To graduate and complete the program, you have to pass all of the required projects. So that means getting a meet specification evaluation on each of the projects. We try to get the projects returned back to the students within 24 hours, but sometimes it can take up to 7 days to get a project review, depending on the project submission. So if there's a deadline that a lot of students have all at once, sometimes it can take a bit longer. So my advice to you is to plan ahead and don't leave your projects until the last minute to get them done. And upon graduation, you'll get an electronic certificate that you can access through your classroom. And it's important to note that within Phase 2, the deadline for completing your program is October 24th, 2018 at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. In the next slide, you can see an example of one of the certificates. So this is one that I have for the Introduction to Programming Nano degree. And you have an option to share your certificate with a bunch of different social media channels to show that you've completed that program. Great. I think that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. And we are going to get back into the slides. Thanks, everyone, for your patience with us. We're doing this from multiple locations across multiple computers, so thank you. And for those of you who couldn't see the slides, they are going to be available to you. So don't worry if you couldn't see the small writing on the slides, it will all be there. So I wanted to take a few minutes just to go over academic honesty. And so this is something that we take extremely seriously here at Udacity, as does any educational institution. There are links on this slide that, again, you'll have access to after the orientation today, where you can read through our full policy, our full honor code, our full academic dishonesty policy. But the short and narrow of it is that if you're found to have broken the Udacity honor code, you may face expulsion from your nano degree program or the Udacity platform. If this is discovered after you graduate, then you may have your graduation credential revoked. So really, it's your responsibility to know what constitutes plagiarism. If you have any questions about this, ask your mentor, ask your peers, ask during office hours before you submit a project. And I want to touch on this a little bit, just in terms of submitting your projects and how that's reviewed in terms of academic dishonesty. We really recommend submitting one project at a time, and especially towards the end of the program, sometimes we'll see people rushing and they'll submit multiple projects at once. And if you do something accidentally that constitutes academic dishonesty, and that's found across multiple projects, that could be a bigger deal than if it was just a true accident and we followed up with you and we worked with you and had you resubmit your project, if it truly was a case of accidental academic dishonesty. So we recommend waiting until your projects have been approved before submitting another one, just to kind of be extra safe on this. And ignorance is not an excuse. So if you say that you didn't know that you plagiarized, you may still be held responsible for this. So we take this really seriously. It is on a case-by-case basis, but we want to touch on this because we know how closely so many of you work together in Phase 1 on projects, and we don't want anybody to accidentally find themselves in the situation where they've committed accidental academic dishonesty. So as a quick quiz for you all, just to get you a little bit more familiar with different types of academic dishonesty. So here's 4 different situations. And for those of you who went ahead and have already read this policy on the Udacity website, these are probably familiar situations to you. But read through these and I'll be talking about them in a little bit more depth, just so you know what does and does not count as academic dishonesty. So the first one, copying another person's code verbatim and submitting it in a project. This, yes, absolutely counts as academic dishonesty. Hopefully that was an easy answer for all of you. But under any circumstance, it is never okay to use another person's code and submit it in one of your projects. And this is for multiple reasons, but ultimately you're all here to learn and grow in your careers. And if you are not submitting your own work, you're cheating yourself out of the opportunity to get honest feedback. You're limiting your opportunity to prepare for interviews thoroughly, to perform on the job well. And ultimately we want you all here, and we trust that you all want to be here to grow your skill set in a way that will help you throughout your career. And so academic dishonesty, in addition to being dishonest, is also not setting you up for success throughout your life. So the next example is copying code or using code that has been provided for you and approved for use in your project by Udacity. So the answer to this is no. There will be times where Udacity provides you with code that you are expressly authorized to use in your project. This will be very clearly communicated in the project guidelines, and you should still plan on referencing where you got the code properly, even when given permission to use it. So if you are told that you can use code that Udacity gives you, then yes, you can use that, and no, it does not count as academic dishonesty. The next example is working on a project with a peer, writing code together that significantly overlaps, and submitting it as 2 separate projects. So this would count as academic dishonesty. And we wanted to touch on this one again, because we know how closely so many of you worked in phase 1. And we realized that this could accidentally come up without it being intentional on either party's part. So we do encourage you to continue working together in phase 2, but it will be really important to ensure that any work you submit is your own, and to avoid any potential situations where you accidentally submit the same thing as a peer. We recommend working together more on concepts or implementation ideas, and then kind of going off on your own and writing your code independently, so you don't even run the risk of submitting the same work. And then the last example is using someone else's code and providing the name of the person it belonged to as credit to their work. So this one is a little bit of a trick question, because sometimes you will need to refer to others' work, and this is okay. But to properly attribute that person's work, we ask that you give the date that it was written and the URL where you found it. And this should only be a small piece of helper code, and it should be open source or written by somebody who has provided their consent to use their code. And it shouldn't be directly relevant to the concepts being assessed in your assignment, because that doesn't fully understood the concepts. So you may use somebody else's code, but only when you're giving proper credit and only when it's small bits of helper code. So hopefully this helped clear any questions that you have about academic dishonesty up. Please review our full code of conduct if you do have any questions, and continue to ask as we go through the next 6 months together. And with that, we have a video for you from Chelsea Pettigrew, who is going to be talking more about mentors and project reviews. So give us 1 minute while we get this queued up for you.
Everyone, my name is Chelsea, and I'm a community manager here at Udacity. I work with our mentorship and reviews team, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the project review system as well as our mentorship service. So to begin with, I wanted to say congratulations to everyone on making it to phase 2 of the Grow with Google Scholarship Program. We're so excited to have you learning with us, and we hope you're just as excited to kick off the program today. So to begin with, I wanted to start with the project process. So for each program, you'll be asked to complete projects which are required in order for you to graduate. You'll see them denoted in the classroom in various ways. The number of projects you can see up here, and then the projects themselves are pretty easy to spot within the classroom. So clicking into a specific project, you'll see a brief overview of what is required of you, as well as the actual project submission site. So this page itself will contain a lot of information and files that'll help you complete the project, as well as a rubric, which will kind of walk you through what is expected. And in order to pass on a project or meet specifications, you will need to meet all of the criteria that are listed out here. So once you're ready to submit your project, you'll be able to do so in the bottom right-hand corner in the Submit button, and that'll take you to a page that looks just like this one that will allow you to submit your project in a variety of different formats. So the project reviews process is meant to mimic a real-world code review. So in the workplace, when you ask your colleagues for a code review, you're not just asking one person over and over again, you're asking multiple people to get different perspectives. And we think that's super valuable to mimic that here. So every time you submit a project, it'll be sent to a different reviewer who will review it against the rubric items that are provided to you. And they will decide where you have met specs and where you may need to do a little bit more work. So you shouldn't feel disappointed at all if you don't meet all of the specifications on your first try. That's pretty rare across the board for our entire student population. Most people take 2 or 3 submissions to get it totally perfect. So we ask that you use every submission and every bit of feedback as a learning experience for you to help kind of solidify your own knowledge and to really build out a project that is super strong and great to be included in a portfolio of your own work. So something that is really kind of unique to Udacity is that these projects allow you to build out a portfolio of your work, like I said, and you can use that to just display your own skills, whether that's on LinkedIn or another network, or to illustrate your skills when you are trying to either up level at your current job or find a new role in a different field. So we hope that you take projects seriously and use them as kind of the cornerstone to solidify your own knowledge and mastery of the concepts and skills that you learn throughout the content. So the last thing I wanted to touch on is that our reviewers are experts. Each of them have submitted these projects themselves and passed with flying colors. So we ask that you utilize their feedback to the best of your abilities and make sure you implement those things that they ask of you when you get your feedback back. So the second thing that I wanted to touch on is mentorship, which is our flagship service here at Udacity. You'll see this little chat window in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. Clicking on that will illuminate the actual chat box. So when you're first enrolled in the program and access the classroom for the first time, you'll be taken through a bit of a walkthrough, which will tell you a bit more about mentorship as a service. It'll introduce you to your specific mentor and then lead you here to this chat window. So for a bit of background, mentorship was created in order to give students kind of a specific outlet for their questions, but more than that, it is meant to pair you with someone who's really interested in your success and your progress and your learning. So we wanted you to feel like there is someone on the other side of this classroom who is really there for you and excited about what you're doing and trying to keep you coming back to the classroom to make progress and continue on your learning journey. So you can find your mentor in this chat window at any time. You can also illuminate the entire chat box with the mentorship icon in the left-hand nav panel. You can pop out the mentor chat if that is preferred and chat with them here as well. You can attach files if there's something you'd like to share with them, or just send them text and chat with them and ask questions there. One thing I do want to make sure I point out is that as a student, you can switch your own mentor or opt out of mentorship at any time through the menu here. So switching a mentor will just repair you with a different mentor. If for some reason you're unsatisfied with your current mentor, this is a good option. And then lastly, if you feel that mentorship simply isn't really something that you need at this point, you can opt out entirely. And doing so will just unassign you from your current mentor and will not assign you to a new one. And if you find, say, later in the program, as the content kind of advances, that you would like to be paired with someone so you can have that kind of one-to-one help again, you can just send us a quick email and we'll be happy to help with that. And then another thing I wanted to touch on is that although this is a chat window, mentors will do their best to get back to you within 1 business day. A lot of them will respond much quicker than that, some within just a few hours or less, depending on when they're online. So we just ask you to be patient with them. They're super excited to help you out, and will do their best to provide timely responses and assistance to you. Another thing is just as a general overview of what they can help with, mentors are typically graduates in the program that they support students in. So they can answer content questions, questions about the project and how to go about it. They can just provide general guidance and get you kind of situated in terms of navigating Udacity's classroom and its other offerings. And lastly is they are really there to help keep you motivated and make sure you're coming back to the classroom regularly and making good progress. But in order to do that, they need to know from you kind of what your goal is and what you're looking to accomplish. So make sure that you're communicating with them and giving them as much information as possible in terms of what kind of support you need or what kind of support you would like to see from them. And they'll be happy to tailor their feedback and their assistance accordingly. And then another thing I wanted to point out is that each week you'll be asked to provide a rating for your mentor. And we ask that you take these seriously, as it's a great opportunity for you to provide feedback to both our team as well as your mentor on kind of how they're doing, where they can improve, doing great with so far. So please make sure you fill those out when it's asked of you, and we'll be sure to take your feedback into account to continue improving this entire program for more students just like you. So that's about it for me. I hope this was helpful and kind of gives you guys a good overview of what to expect from our project and mentorship services. And like I said, congratulations on making it to phase 2. We're super excited to have you guys and are excited to see what you accomplish. So that's it, and happy learning.
Hold on one sec, guys, while we switch over. Sorry, we're all over the place. So that was really helpful information from Chelsea. And we are going to move on to deadlines. I'm just going to go over really quick a little bit about this, but all of the information for the actual dates of deadline site or with Google Site. So please reference that. Oh, can you see my screen? Okay. We'll get there, guys. Thanks for sticking with us.
Learning together.
All right, here we go. All on the same page. All right, so just very quickly, these are the deadlines. They are different than the deadlines you will see in your classroom. So make sure you're referencing these dates throughout the course. This first page, these are the mobile web specialist deadlines. These are the front end nanodegree deadlines. Again, quickly look at them, but they will be on the Grow with Google site, and we will always make you aware of upcoming deadlines. Really, this is just to let you know that the deadlines that you have are different than the deadlines of the nanodegree course. Okay, now we're going to move into resources.
Hey guys, how are you? All right, so I'm here to talk about the available resources that'll help you stay on track and finish by the October 24th deadline. The first resource that I want to call attention to is your Grow with Google website. We've updated this website to be a lot more robust for phase 2. We have a lot of new pages, and in particular, I want you to bookmark the deadlines page, which Kelsey alluded to. These are your project, where your project needs to be approved by deadline date, okay? And also there's another page that I'd like you to bookmark. It's called Student Services. It's under the resources page. And pay attention to that because the resources that are available are different per track. So every resource per your track is listed there. So familiarize yourself with that. And if you have any questions, please ask us during office hours. So that's your Grow with Google website that's been improved. Now I want to move on to some the personal resources that are available to you. And the first one is mentors that Kelsey gave her presentation on. And really, we want you to really utilize these. Are your personal mentors, and they are your first point of contact when you have a technical question. And you'll find them in your classroom. And as Kelsey said, the more information that you can provide to them, the more support that they'll be able to return to you. So remember that. And also remember to rate your mentor. It's really important that you provide feedback to Udacity so that we can continue to improve the service for you. It may take up to 48 hours to get a mentor when you first log on. So just please note that. The next slide, you might be familiar with some of these individuals. They were formerly your mentors, your forum mentors in phase 1, and we are lucky to have their services in phase 2. Kind of remember that this is a special service that we're providing for nano-degree students. It's like the cherry on top of the sundae, and these are all students who have completed their nano-degree scholarships. And so basically, they just want to give back to you guys and be here for you guys. And we are going to, you remember Ryan, and we're going to have office hours posted once we arrange the times with them. So look on our Grow with Google website. That's what we'll be posting their availability, okay? The next are us, Chelsea, Kathleen, and I, your community managers. And first and foremost, we're here for you. We want you to know that. Okay, if you have a question, and these are just basically guidelines that we want to kind of impart on you, because as you know, there's 3 of us and thousands of you. So I think by following these simple guidelines will help us just provide a better experience and also allow us to focus on really more fun events to kind of help you guys get through the course. And the first are office hours. So we're going to be hosting office hours every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. When you have a question for us, think, hey, will this benefit all the other students in the student body? If so, ask it in this public channel instead of DMing us, because others will benefit from hearing your answer. We'll also, during non-office hours, we'll also have a questionnaire that you can, a doc that you can access and submit your question ahead of time, and we'll be sure to answer this during office hours. And we'll post all the transcripts on our Grow with Google website, so even if you miss office hours, you can still get the answers, okay? For any technical questions, we really encourage you to reach out to your personal mentors, your project coaches from the previous slide. They are there to help you. We are also going to be hosting AMA sessions with these individuals so you can get technical assistance. For any urgent and personal situations, please do DM us. But if you do DM us, if you'd like to DM all 3 of us, please do not DM us individually. We really request that you DM us as a group, Kelsey, Brenda, Kelsey, me, and Kathleen. That way we'll know too that the other person is taking care of you, and it will help kind of allow us to focus on the other students that need help. And then, let's see, next slide is the last resource we want to emphasize is your classmates. As you know, in phase 1, it was such an outstanding student community with so much support, both technical and motivational. And we just want to encourage you guys to keep that motivation going, keep that momentum going, keep up the discussion and live help. We will be there for you, but really depend on your students for even broader community support. And now Kelsey is going to talk about Slack structure and norms.
Hey everyone, it's Kelsey. So Slack is going to look similar to phase 1, but we just wanted to go over what Slack channels will have and what the norms should be, just so we can keep Slack as organized as possible. And we're doing that for you guys so that you know exactly where to go. If you have any questions or whatever you need to find, you know where to go. So these are the general Slack channels that'll be available to you. So general discuss, which you're familiar with, but this time we have all 4 tracks in that channel. So you probably already know that all 4 tracks are in the workspace, and this is a great way to communicate to students that are in other tracks. We think it's a really great resource for you guys to connect, and so definitely use that, but that probably won't be where you're going to get your track-specific help. Office hours, which were already mentioned, we will be live Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. in the Office Hours channel to answer programmatic questions you have. So feel free to save your questions for then, and we will answer them. AMA sessions, these will be more technical. So we'll have them pretty frequently throughout the second phase. And we'll keep you up to date on when that will happen, but it'll always happen in the AMA sessions channel. Announcements, you should be familiar with this by now, but this is the best way, I think, to get information from us. We update that very regularly, and you will always get a notification when there is a new announcement. So check out announcements if you want to know what's going on. Careers is new. That is a place to share your stories about your career successes, whether that's a promotion, an interview, or a new job, or if you want to connect with students about how to interview or anything job related, that's a great channel to use. Motivation, exactly the same as last time. It was a great channel, and we would just want you guys to have that resource of motivating each other and sharing motivational resources in that channel. Meetups, we ask that in this channel, this is a little different than last time, it's not to connect to find a meetup. You'll use the meetup doc that we'll share with you, but instead you will share a debrief about your meetup. So you will share a photo, who met, how many people were there, and where you met, and just a quick description of what you talked about. It's just helpful for us to see that you guys were meeting, and also I think encourages other students to meet up as well. We just want to hear what you guys were studying about or talking about. So please post a debrief in the meetups form or in the meetups channel, and you will be seeing the meetups form shortly to fill out to connect with other students. There will be a resources channel. If you have something that's interesting that you think all 4 tracks might find helpful, this is a great place to put it. And then we will have, which I think you are all have been asking us for, track-specific channels. So these will be, again, for your course specifically. We will have Android Basics, Android Developer, Front-End, Mobile Web, and there will be a regular channel, so like just a general discuss channel for those, and then a live help channel for each course. So those are where you can ask your more specific technical questions. We will also be creating project channels. So we will be hosting project kickoffs when a deadline is coming up for a project. This will be an opportunity for us to share any resources we have with you about what that project and the lessons you'll be going over. You'll also have access to the project coaches that Brenda just introduced you to and that you already know. So generally, we'll just be supporting you throughout as you're going through that project. That is when we'll open up the project-specific Slack channel. So they won't always, every project will not be open the entire time of the second phase. We'll be rolling them out. So you'll have access to the project you were previously working on, the project that's currently, that a deadline is coming up, and the one project into the future. So there will be a max of 3 project channels open at one time. I know it's a little confusing, but I think we'll all get the hang of it when we start having our project deadlines come up and we start doing kickoffs. To make this a safe space and a healthy space, we want to make sure we have community guidelines. The number one thing is to respond in thread, which I think we sometimes struggle with. We just want to make sure that everything is clean and that when we go back and maybe have a similar question, we can see everything in the same conversation. So make sure to just click on that little message icon and reply to someone in the thread when you're responding to what they have to say. Make sure you use the correct channel. I just outlined all of the different channels that we have. Make sure that you're thoughtful about it and putting the information in the correct channel. Be respectful. We want to make sure that everyone's viewpoint is respected and experiences are respected and nobody feels uncomfortable in this space. So please be mindful of that. We're all here to learn and we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable learning. Gracefully accept constructive criticism. This is a great space to get feedback about your projects and what you're working on. And we want to make sure that you utilize that resource, but make sure that you know that your fellow students are just trying to help you. And if you're giving feedback, give it gracefully. And keep in mind in anything you do in the Slack workspace or on forums, anytime you're communicating, that you are thinking about what is best for the overall community. We want to make sure that, just make sure that you're keeping everyone in mind when you're commenting. You can find our full community guidelines in the link. Again, you'll have access to this slideshow afterwards. I already said this, but just emphasizing, please keep your everything in the same thread. So we're just trying to keep it organized. Just a warning, if you do not reply in thread, or in the right channel, we will delete your message. Don't take it personally. We know it's busy and we want to keep it organized too. So you'll hear from us if you're not in the right thread. Here's an example of Kathleen deleting your message.
With love.
With love, yes. I think you are probably already aware of this, but there are 2 Slack workspaces available to you. The first one is a scholarship Slack group. So that means that that's everyone that's participating in the scholarships program, which you should already have access to and received an invite via email, and you should be in there. You also have access to the nano degree specific work groups. So these are people that are enrolled in the nano degree that additionally might have paid for it. So it's scholarships and anyone enrolled in the nano degree. So that's another great resource just to connect with other students that are not in the Grow with Google program, but are also going through the same coursework that you are. You will find instructions on how to access those specific workspaces on here. And again, you'll have access to this later. And we are going to go into phase 2 programs.
All right, so we did a lot of programming in phase 1. The pizza party was one example. We did the tutoring, also known as the in tandem program in phase 1 also. So we're going to be doing more of this in phase 2. It is going to look a little bit different, but we wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of what to expect. So something that a lot of people asked for in phase 1 were cohorts. And these are just small groups of about 10 other students that you can work and study with. We are going to be launching signups for this on May 1st, and you'll be matched based on your time zone availability and track. So hopefully that facilitates people getting together who have complementary schedules and are learning the same course material as one another. Meetups are also a great way to meet with other students face-to-face. A lot of you took advantage of this in phase 1, and we want to continue making this possible for you. And so you can do this online or locally in person, and we'll be providing a form with you to fill out if you're going to be hosting a meetup. And this will automatically populate the calendar on the Grow with Google website. So you can look at the calendar and find a meetup that's in your area that's at a time that works for you and just plan on attending that. One quick note about the form that you're filling out is please make sure that it's accurate the first time, because it automatically goes on the website. So if you make mistakes, that's seeing. So just take a minute to double check that what you're entering is accurate. And we also have the In Tandem program, which is a tutoring program. And this is great for people who want more one-on-one support with a peer. We're also going to be rolling this out on May 1st. You can do both the In Tandem program and cohorts if you want to work with a group and also work with peers one-on-one. But the In Tandem program is just to really get you with a study buddy for the rest of the course, so you have more of that one-on-one connection with somebody. This is great I'm seeing a lot of people post in the feed about being introverted. Really good option for introverts who maybe might prefer to work more one-on-one with people. And we're also going to be doing the student leader program again. For those of you who did the student leader program the first time around, we've heard great things. I know a lot of people are excited about doing it again, and a lot of people want to get involved if they didn't have a chance to do it in phase one. So we're going to be rolling this out in a few weeks once you're more settled into your course. And a student leader is basically a voluntary representative who are active students in the course. Anyone can be a student leader. We do encourage you to prioritize your completing your projects first. We know that you have a lot happening in your life, and your life, work, family commitments should come first, then your nano degree, and then if you have time left over and you really want to be more involved, being a student leader could be a really great opportunity for you. So no requirements, but we really don't want this to be a distraction from your coursework because we want all of you to finish by the end of October. So if in a few weeks you feel like you have the bandwidth for this, we'll be sharing more about how to apply. And just some things that people have done in the past is led AMAs, created a study buddy program, organized project challenges, facilitated people getting together on projects, compiled resources for people, and just shared tips and motivation and answered questions as they came up in the channel. So if you have ideas, we'll be excited to hear them in a few weeks. And this is a lot of information, so we wanted to kind of just go over an overview at a high level of how phase two is different from phase one. So this is kind of an image that hopefully lays out a little bit what you had in phase one and how that's different from what you had in phase two and what both phases had. So in phase two, as you can see, you'll have access to personal mentors that you'll have one-on-one relationships with. You'll be getting formal project and code reviews, not just relying on your peers to give feedback. You'll have career support, which looks a little bit different depending on the track that you're in, but that will be available to you. You will have participation is encouraged, but it's not a required part of phase two. The emphasis is really on project completion. You'll have access to other scholarship students from the EU, but also students who are enrolled in nano degrees who are not scholarship students, so a broader community. And at the end, you get a certification congratulating you. Kelly showed a screenshot of this earlier of what it will look like when you complete the course. And then in both, you can continue to expect to have access to Slack and the forums, support from your peers, community managers, office hours, AMAs, and then community manager organized events. And before we jump into Q&A, we have a brief motivational video that we want to share with you from Ryan. We also see a lot of love for Ryan happening in the chat on YouTube right now. So for those of you who don't know him, hopefully this video is a little bit uplifting to you as you get ready for phase two.
Give me one sec, guys. Working on it.
Hey guys, hope you're doing all right. My name is Ryan, and I'm going to be sharing my story of how I got started as a web developer. So I'm going to go over a few talking points. The first will be how I got started. The next would be starting with no experience, what to expect. Then I'm going to share what helped me persevere and push through different journeys as a developer, how much the interviews I have now, and share some tips and tricks of how to get through this journey. So how I got started was joining a tech program in March 2015, and that program is called Year Up, and it helps young adults get started with tech careers, get them technical skills, and so forth. And Udacity gave Year Up some scholarships. So the first degree I took was web development, front end. I completed that in about 6 months because I had no experience at all. Like right now I can do it in a day, but in hindsight, it's easy. But at the time with no experience, it was like the hardest thing ever. So what helped me push through was the pure interest and just loving programming. The idea of creating programs from scratch and it being able to help the world and help people is kind of what helped me push through. So, and also I don't like to waste things. It was free. Education given for free, like you can't pass that up. So that's kind of what helped me push through. Right now I have 6 nano degrees, front end, full stack, Android basics, iOS, React, and mobile web specialist. Just finished that one. So tips and tricks of how to get through this journey. So number 1 is patience and being fair to yourself, because great things take time and programming is a great skill to have, especially in this age of technology. So be patient with yourself. I understand learning is a process. There's no timeline to learning. The more you know, the more you don't know. You may come to a point where you feel like you know something, but then there's just a whole other chapter of things you don't know. So just be patient with yourself. It's a process. Great things take time. And this one sounds cliche, but you really have to believe in yourself. You really have to believe that you can do it, because you only get so much opportunities in life. And after all your opportunities, you're going to have regrets. And the worst thing is to look back and just think, wow, well, what if I finished? What if I did this? What if I did that? So finish what you started. And also attitude. Attitude is one of the biggest things to have. It can make the biggest difference. Just always look for the positive side. There's always something you can take away from each step of the process. So just use your resources, internet, Slack communities, Stack Overflow, books. There's countless resources out there. So I believe in you and you can finish this. So good luck and hope you enjoy.
Oh my gosh, the message feed is cracking us up. We all love Ryan. If anything is decided, 6 degrees of Ryan.
Yes.
That is awesome. So now we're going to be live for Q&A.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Are there any questions?
Also wanted to let you guys know that Kelly Howard is still with us to take any of your questions specifically about the nano degree program. So this is a lovely shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Scoot over. We're in a tiny room here. Great. So if you have questions, please post them in the feed. We'll get to as many as possible in the next few minutes. So yeah, we're looking for them now. A lot coming in. Okay.
Are there any hard deadlines to finish a project? I see May 7th is the first deadline to submit the single screen app. How hard is this deadline? The only truly hard deadline is the end of the course, October 24th. But we strongly encourage you to follow the deadlines that we listed. Honestly, our most successful students are the ones who do follow these deadlines and stay on top of their coursework. So although it's not a hard deadline, we think it's really important that you try to stick to them as best as possible.
All right. Next question. A lot of people have been asking about mentors. Brenda touched on this. You may not have a mentor right away. If you don't have a mentor yet, don't panic. It takes 24 to 48 hours sometimes to get one. So if in a few days you still don't have a mentor in your classroom, then reach out to us. But if you don't have one right now, don't worry about it. They should appear. And if they don't, then reach out to us. But that's very normal. Okay. Will there be geographic specific channels on Slack as well? So we are trying to keep Slack a little bit more streamlined in phase 2, because we also got a lot of feedback that Slack got really busy and overwhelming in phase 1 and was really stressful to navigate. So we are going to have the meetup doc available. So for people who want to meet up with people locally or virtually, they can find meetups there, and you can sign up to host one, which we strongly encourage if you do want to learn in a group. But we don't know at this time if we're going to have specific channels based on region, just because students are all across the United States, which is a huge area. And so that would get things pretty busy pretty quickly. So we do encourage you to use the meetups form to host a meetup and use the calendar when you want to find what meetups are happening in your area.
I will also say that I think the cohorts program also supplements this. We still want you to be able to connect with students in your area, and when we put you into cohort, we're going to put you with people that are as close to you as possible. We just are also taking into account those that live in rural areas that don't necessarily live in a large city where they can meet up with people. So I think the cohorts and the meetup doc make up for that. But we definitely still want you to have the resources of being able to connect with others, and I think that the meetup doc will be able to do that for you guys.
Mm-hmm. All right. There are a lot of questions coming through. Okay. All right. One person wrote, is there a limit on the max number of submissions? Do you want to speak to this, Brenda?
Yeah. I strongly advise you guys, when you guys are going through the project, is to look at the guidelines and follow what it says in the guidelines. If you have any questions, ask your mentor. But when you're thinking about a project submission, try to submit a project that is as fully complete as possible. Like, you know, what we're basically saying is, you know, go through those steps and make sure that your project, you know, fits those guidelines, and then submit it. But you can, you know, of course, understand too that when you submit a project, it may likely not be approved the first time, and that's okay. Do not be discouraged. That's what your personal mentors are there for. But if you can, always submit a fully complete project. Mm-hmm. And Kelly, did you want to add on to that? I know you're still online with us.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we generally advise our students to really wait until their project is in a really final state before they do that project submission, just so that the reviewers have enough to work with to give feedback on. If a student submits a half-complete project, our reviewers don't really have a lot to work with as far as code reviews and things to work on. And so even if you're not sure you're doing it correctly, try to complete the entire thing, check the whole rubric to make sure you've at least included all parts of the project, even if you're not confident if it's the right way. And then our reviewers will be able to give you a much more thorough review to help guide you in the right direction.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Somebody asked, are the projects that we completed for phase 1 being applied to the first few projects of phase 2? For those of you who it was an expectation that you did the projects in phase 1, and those will carry over into phase 2. However, because you have not submitted them formally, you will need to submit them. I also want to jump back to what I was saying earlier about academic honesty. If you worked on these projects with peers and you think that some of the code that you might be submitting is going to look very, very similar or identical to some of your peers, then we would recommend going through, maybe reaching out to your peers, just making sure that you're submitting your own work and you don't accidentally submit something that could be considered academic dishonesty. But you will have to submit your projects from phase 1, even if you've already done them and you posted them in Slack and all that. That's great. You need to be a formal review. Probably have time for one more question before we jump over to the happy hour.
Also, if you haven't joined, you have 4 minutes.
Yes.
It does it right at 4 p.m.
Join the channel now. Donut will match at 4 p.m. and if you're not in there by 4, you will not get matched.
And a reminder that we're hosting office hours. If we haven't answered your question here today, we'll host office hours in our Slack office hours channel tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. So hop on over there and join us.
Yes. Trying to find a question that applies to a lot of people. Somebody asked if there's a phase 3. There is not a phase 3. That's an easy answer.
Someone asked about switching tracks. We are not able to accommodate track switching. That's it.
Also a simple answer.
Yeah.
And channels, the Slack channels will be up. Somebody asked when the rest of the Slack channels will be up.
After happy hour.
Yep. And forums also, want to put a plug in for the forums. You're going to be joining a community of the EU students as well as paid nano degree students. And we've heard that the forums have been a little bit quiet. So I'm going to be posting some prompts in the forums today just to get that conversation going and getting people active. You have access to thousands of peers across the world now through the forums, which is super. And especially those people are going to be at different phases in their course. So you could get support from peers who are a little bit farther along in their nano degree than you. So it's a really great resource in addition to Slack to get feedback from people who maybe have a little bit more experience with the course material than you all do at this point. So definitely take advantage of those. And there will be some prompts in the forums tonight that hopefully you can use to start generating some conversation with your peers. And somebody asked if we and I think that'll be a great way for us to close out. And Nick, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself too. Somebody was asking about you earlier. So I am Kathleen Hunt, one of the community managers.
I'm Kelsey Miller, the other community managers, one of.
Brenda Law. Hi, everybody.
Hey guys, it's Nick. Nice to meet everyone. Congratulations.
So we are your one of many people on your team, in addition to your mentors, to your code reviewers, to the project coaches, to each other. So please, this will be posted to the Google site after orientation is done in just a minute. Head on over to the hashtag happy_hour channel in Slack to get acquainted with your new peers if you haven't already. And we look forward to seeing all the amazing things that you are all going to achieve over the next 6 months.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.